my mic stand to save me.
No, David, you don't. Welcome to the Tuck Shop podcast, folks. We're kind of getting everything situated. I'm still a little getting unpacked from last week's huge show on the road.
You know what I think it is, Matt? I think it is just like when I went here, when the sun comes out in Johnstown, people go crazy.
I do have all my grades in, so it's kind of like, you know.
One sunny day. And
I broke out the sandals.
Oh, God, I didn't need to see that, but no.
Anyway, congratulations, Grandpa.
Yeah, how about that? Yeah, so yeah, I'm a grandpop, and Denise, who's also an alum, is a grandma.
Yeah,
sort of thing.
If I remember seeing the post correctly, you opted not to name the child after me.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had nothing to do with that.
Well, no, but you could have.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
You could have asked.
Kind of wondering why it wasn't named after me.
I think it would have been named after me would have been more appropriate.
Yeah, probably.
I host the show.
All right, we'll look into that.
No, congratulations.
Stay tuned.
And to
next
Denise
episode.
as well. I'm sure she's excited.
Yeah, she is. So thank you. But it adds to the hecticness of this time of year.
Of course.
So
April birthday. That's not bad.
Yeah,
Far
which
enough
is
away
neat
from Christmas
because you got to think so that born in I guess if it's March, April, or May, or March or April, you have a chance at some point in your life having a birthday on Easter.
Yes.
Yeah.
You could.
Yeah.
Plus, you're not up against. Actually, it's not that bad when you think you're not up against the holidays. It's a little spread out. Mm-hmm. Easter, like you said, but it's not like you're in between Christmas and New Year's or something.
Yeah.
It's during the school year, so you don't have that. Everyone shares one day.
That's right. Yeah.
So you get your own birthday day when she's in school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Summer ones are bad when you're a little kid because what did you do over the summer? I had a birthday, but nobody cared.
Yeah. Well, there we go. Now we've sorted this problem out.
We hope.
This is where we are, folks, as far as the level of tired, because we got a lot going on. Hall of Fame is this weekend.
Hall of Fame is this weekend. Yeah, we got about 175 people coming out to honor our 5 inductees in multiple sports. So it's always like I said, it's always neat to anytime alumni get back because stories just flow.
Yeah,
and it's in those points it's more entertaining to be a listener than a teller.
Yep.
You sit and you just soak it in. And when sports is involved, there's always going to be one of these. Remember that time when? Story.
So we'll have some stories next week that you'll be able to bring to the show. That'll be great. The probably the biggest thing that's on our horizon right now that we can share a link with and stuff is going to be the media reunion.
Yes, the Mountain Cat Media, Music, and More reunion.
And typically this is where I'd bug you about, hey, we got to talk more about it. But today's guest is Jeff Martinelli, and Jeff was part of the committee. Part of our alumni board.
Yeah.
So we're going to actually get right from Jeff. Plus, we have a lot of, when I talked to him, we had a lot of really cool stories. And
just a cool guy.
Jeff's just a really cool, chill guy.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited that he's been helping out and good to get to know him with his work on our alumni board and things like that. So we're going to have that link down below in the details so you can still register for that. Plenty of time. As well as our Pittsburgh Pirates game. UPJ goes to the Pirates.
UPJ goes to town.
Yeah, we take it. We all pile up, everyone in the wagon, and go to Pittsburgh, like summer vacation. David and I in the wagon. Everyone roll up your windows.
The family truckster, the urban family truckster.
But that'll be exciting. That link's down there too. You can buy your tickets right through the Pirates. End up all sitting together. We're on the third base line.
It's a good time.
So it was really fun.
Again, entertaining, enjoyable time.
No, very, very cool. So that link's down there as well. Hopefully by next week we'll have the registration going for golf.
Yeah.
Which will be the 30th of May.
Yep.
So we're slowly making progress on things, but it's been very, very busy.
And then we've got some things coming up for fall, but we'll get into the fall.
Yeah, we get to the summer. We'll talk a little bit more about some of those. Actually, I may try to invite Doug, Dr. Letney back for next week, and we could talk about, because those are going to be some of the things coming up early fall.
Cool.
That'll be kind of fun. Doug's always he was very helpful last week. And the education event, I know you had to leave about 2/3 of the way through or so. But we needed your seat. We had so many
That's good.
amazing students through. So hopefully everyone enjoyed that.
Now, also, I'm going to throw out a little, speaking of sports, just an interesting little fun fact. Women's volleyball, next season's 50th season.
Oh, nice.
So you can imagine there's some ideas ruminating now for how we get alum back. So if you're a volleyball player, we'd like to see you come back maybe next season, celebrate 50 seasons.
Yeah.
With volleyball. So
that'd be great.
It's out there. We'll be talking. I'm sure we'll be talking with Coach Halt this weekend. When I see
we have a list of things that are into the mid distance of the future that are actually I'm really excited about. Volleyball's one. I ran into the folks that they've been on the show before as well, from Respiratory Care, talking their 50th coming up.
Yeah.
Yep. They're real excited to do a big event. We want to kind of help build them up. As far as that anniversary, and I think that's coming up a year from this fall.
Okay.
I believe.
Right.
Don't quote me on that, but it's pretty close to that. So, I mean, there's some cool stuff that are coming up, plus Winterfest. I'm sure Abby's working on that.
Yeah, that's coming up.
That's going to be next January.
Or in Johnstown, it could be next week.
It could be. You never know.
Who knows?
It snowed on Wednesday last week and then was 80 degrees on Friday.
Sun is out. People go crazy.
So, but it's some really cool stuff that are kind of sitting and starting to build and momentum-wise. One thing I want to point out, because it is the 23rd, this will go live. We're also recording on the 23rd, so we're running. That's how busy it's been around here. I'll also have the link again until May 1st. You can vote in the alumni board elections. You're going to see a lot of folks that were on this show who are on our board, because they're very good. They're very important, and I'm sure every one of them on that list would appreciate. All of the folks who are on the ballot would appreciate your support. You can only vote for 8. So I will also have that link there. Cool. That goes away May 1st.
May 1st, yeah. It's a week
and a half.
Because we have graduation coming up
next Thursday, a week from tomorrow. May 3rd. I'm looking at the calendar, David. A week from tomorrow is May 1st.
Okay.
Yeah. May 3rd is graduation.
And I want to mention because things just keep rolling out. If you're a parent and you're coming up for graduation, we will have some alumni swag for alumni parents.
Yes.
So look forward to that. Make sure you stop by our table. And I want to mention, I think a reason I'm mentioning some of these things so far out in the distance, hoping not only for planning to put it on your calendar, but if there's people out there that want to get involved, it kind of gives you an idea to kind of come up with some ideas or ideas of your own that maybe there's a couple other 50s out there. I think we've covered them all. But
we can work on the knowledge we have, the history that I have on campus and you have on campus, David, the things that people bring to us. But a lot of times everyone who's gone here, and there's been folks who've talked on this show, UPJ, everyone's very excited and loves their time because they are so tightly knit to their folks, whether that's your sport or your academic program or the club you were in. But it does silo a bit. So it's like, I never knew they had this because my folks were, you're tied with, I played rugby and I was in the history club and that was the thing or whatever. Yeah. And you're like, I never knew they also had X. But that means that you and I may not know, hey, it is the 50th anniversary coming up of something. And you do? Let us know.
Yeah. That's if you have an idea. Exactly. I think that's why I bring that up is that we're open. I mean, there's an idea that I've been kind of rolling around in my brain for, wouldn't it be cool to get everybody that got married at Whaley Chapel back up here for I don't want to say like a marriage encounter weekend, but I don't know.
Like a dinner, vow renewal or something. Yeah, something along those lines. That would be kind of fun. Yeah. Things like that.
Yeah, I mean that'd be kind of cool.
So if you have something like that, that's why we put our emails down in the description. Shoot us a note. Because it's the events that the Alumni Association can help with, that David's office can help with, that we'd love to talk about on the show. Because these stories, this is slowly this has been now. This is going to end our second year doing this, or second academic year doing this. This is slowly becoming the audio record of the last 2 years of campus.
Yep.
And we want that to continue to grow. So.
And if you're an alum out there, you think you have an interesting story, by all means.
Yeah.
I got a couple of ideas I'm not even going to get into right now. Some alum that I ran into that I think they have interesting stories. We'll try to get them on.
I love it.
Year.
I love it. Speaking of interesting stories, Jeff Martinelli was great.
Jeff Martinelli.
So we're going to dial up and talk to Jeff.
Tune into the programming board.
I'm really excited today for our guest. Jeff Martinelli is joining me from a undisclosed location, as we just talked about. How are you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing wonderful, Matt. Yourself?
Hey, can't complain. Loving life. We're getting to the end of the term. You remember how that feeling was.
Oh yeah.
Stress and excitement all rolled together. Before we start talking about this big reunion and everything, I want to talk a little bit about you. You're a UPJ alum. You're on the alumni board with me and a bunch of other great people. What's your UPJ story? What brought you to UPJ to begin with?
What brought me to UPJ was my cousin actually brought me to UPJ. He was ahead of me a couple of years in school when I went up to visit him, and had been on campus a few times just to drop him off, and always thought it was a beautiful campus. But back in, it's probably 1981, I guess, came up to visit him on the weekend of Winter Carnival. Had a lot of fun. Had an absolute blast meeting new people, having a lot of fun going around campus doing different things. Especially Winter Carnival, but at the time there was always a huge concert. The big concert that year just happened to be the Jay Giles Band. At the same time, Jay Giles, I believe, had the #1 single and the #1 album in the country at the time. So it was a lot of excitement to go there. I fell in love with the school, fell in love with the campus immediately, and wanted to go to school there. I applied and actually came back with what they called at the time as a TBFer, a trial by fire. I was enrolled in school 2 weeks after I graduated from high school, and I had to achieve a 2.0.
Oh, wow.
In that summer session to be accepted for the fall. But I was pretty much dedicated to UPJ, and was a communications major, and certainly enjoyed my time there. I had a blast. Changed my life.
Do you remember what that first class, that summer was like? Was it one class? Was it a couple classes?
So it was 3 classes. It was 3 courses. It was a math class, an economic, a history class, a math class, a history class, and an English class.
Oh, wow. So they loaded you up there.
Yeah. So the English class wasn't a problem at all. The history class really wasn't too much of a problem. The math, that was a whole other situation. That one was a struggle. But I achieved the 2.0, so I got accepted in for the fall. But it's funny because the people I met my first week, in that summer term, are my best friends to this day. I was out with one last week, celebrated a birthday, or going to be celebrating a birthday with another one next week. And so, and then actually traveled to Hilton Head with another one on vacation just a couple of weeks ago before that. So, my best friends, my wife, my entire family and friends network, not my entire family and friends network, but a good chunk of them are all UPJ related. So it's a special place to me.
You mentioned communications as your program. Was that always the plan? The communications degree, or did you come in with
plan? What's that?
Did you come in with something different that you were thinking, I want to study something else, and you kind of got lured to communications?
No, that was the plan from the get-go. I ended up and I graduated with a communications degree, but I ended up in a slightly different career. I ended up in journalism to start, and it's kind of funny how it happened. Most people do it the opposite way that I do it, or that I did it. My goal coming into school was to be I know the exact person that has my job. I wanted to be the play-by-play announcer for the Pittsburgh Pirates. That's exactly what I wanted to do and was determined to do it. But, sometimes life and fun and hardships get in the way and, steer you to another path, right? So when I graduated, even though I graduated with a degree in communications, I also had a minor in journalism. And I started out in public relations at UPMC. And then a sports writing job opened up, and my wife, who was a UPJ graduate, met her there, encouraged me to apply for a sports writing job, a part-time gig. And that became my career for 10 years. And it was a journalist covering high school sports mainly for a couple different papers in Pittsburgh. And then after that, it was, again, that life gets in the way and creates different things and different challenges. And realized my kids were growing up way too fast. And with the sports writer schedule, you really didn't get to see the family grow up. So there became an opportunity to work at Pittsburgh International Airport, and I jumped on that. And I've basically been there for the last 24 years.
That's a when you think about that, I want to kind of go back to the especially the sports media kind of thing. Mm-hmm. When we're literally sitting doing a podcast, something that didn't exist.
Right.
What's probably the closest analog? I guess radio. But imagine doing radio when you were here and somebody would tell you, you can do radio whenever you want and you can just listen to it whenever you want. You don't have to schedule. Would you believe how far media and sports media and sports journalism has come when you were studying it to today?
No, not at all. Not at all. It's absolutely changed dramatically. I never could have envisioned. I probably wouldn't have got into the newspaper end. And that's, in addition to not seeing the family, but also seeing that evolution of technology changing the newspaper business. It wasn't too long before you caught on that newspapers were going to face a massive struggle with the radio and that ability that, they've made anybody can do radio. Anybody can do a podcast. That's both, there's a lot of great things about that. There's tremendous things about that, lowering the barriers, opening the opportunity for true experts to speak. The problem is weeding out the experts from those that aren't experts, right? And people just talking about what they want to talk about. And there's a place for, I guess what I'm saying is there's a place for everybody, but as far as a listener goes, you got to understand exactly what you want to listen to, right? You got to exactly understand what you're listening to is the real thing. So I think it's just absolutely amazing and incredible. There's times that I long for the old days, and then there's times where I sit there and I think, boy, it's nice to know if I need information, I can just pick up my phone and search on anytime,
right there.
And find it anywhere that I need to. I don't have to wait for the newspaper to come. I don't have to go back and look at old newspapers. I can just find it right at the tip of my hands. So it's both good and bad, but I'd never dreamed information would be this accessible.
Because I want to kind of move us into the your current position, and because I know there's some cool stuff at the airport we want to talk about. But before we move away from the pure UPJ side of it, I want to give you a chance to kind of help you out, buddy. Talk about meeting your wife here. David has the same experience. He's talked before about meeting his wife here. Sarah and I knew each other before UPJ, so we're not technically a UPJ couple, but you two are a UPJ couple. Met here?
Yeah, we met there a couple times. So, I always thought, people ask me about UPJ, and I always laugh and say, you don't want to ask me about the academics. And they said, oh, were you terrible? And I was like, it wasn't necessarily that I was terrible. I got by. But academics, for the most part, really wasn't. I wasn't the academics guy at school, right? I was the social guy. I was out there having fun and learning things and getting involved and doing things. And it taught me much more than I ever realized. It took me a long time to figure out, oh yeah, I learned that at UPJ. Oh yeah, Bruce Hasford was on my case telling me about this. Jody Galt was telling me this. And those are the kind of things that you start to figure out and put into place. But I met my wife because I was president of the programming board. I was on the radio station. And I spent some time writing some articles for The Advocate. She was working for The Advocate at the time. So she used to, in our offices, it doesn't really exist right now in the student union, that lower level. The lower level, I'm sure, is still there, but the offices were sort of in cages, as I used to call them, the cage, and go up to the office up there. The programming board was the first one at the start of that hallway, and the Advocate was the last one down the hallway. So again, trying to avoid classes and maybe trying to avoid the dorms. I used to hang out at the offices quite a bit, and that's where I ran in and met my wife. And she graduated a year and a half ahead of me. So we really didn't date all that long, but here we are 39 years later with 3 kids. So 3 kids and a daughter-in-law.
There you go.
It's worked out incredible well. incredibly well. I know that Betsy's just as passionate about UPJ as I am. We've learned so much. Our best memories are there. She still has good friends from UPJ. She's in a marketing career that was based on, the foundations of what, she learned from Tom Russell, just an incredible professor at UPJ, former journalism professor. Again, when I talk about Bruce Hasselring and Jody Galt, those are probably the two most influential people I met at UPJ in my life, and two of the most influential people in my life. And Tom Russell, when it comes to the actual business of journalism and marketing and those kind of things, mainly journalism. But Tom Russell's right there. I think Mike Mastovich, who went to school a couple years ahead of us and is a long-time Tribune Democrat reporter, he would definitely say the same thing. Have the utmost respect for Tom Russell.
It's kind of neat how those stories kind of always they interconnect, and you hear people talk about names that meant to them on campus, and there's going to be 3 or 4 generations of listeners who are like, I know that name. I had that same experience. And you hear names like Lowell Schaefer, like Bruce Hasselrig, like Pat Pecora, who are like, these are people that were through generations did that for people.
Yeah, and Pat Pecora is a great one. So I had a relationship with Pat Pecora as a friend of the family for years, a distant friend of the family, but I knew him, right? And so when I came to UPJ and I got involved with the women's basketball team in the sports department, Pat Pecora was another incredibly influential person about the way you get things done. Certainly, Jody was the same way.
Mm-hmm.
The way you get things done, paying attention to detail. When you think you've paid attention to detail, and you feel confident about it, you probably haven't paid enough attention to detail. You got to go back and do it again and do it again. So those things just become natural parts of your being, natural parts of ways of doing things. And it's funny because, getting back involved with the Alumni Association and getting back up on campus, I've always been back to campus quite frequently, but probably a little bit more over the years and back into running into Bruce. Bruce was always influential, but seeing two different styles and understanding how they work. Whereas Jody and Pat were much more about, sort of repetitiveness, paying attention to that detail and going through and getting things done and being accountable. Bruce would hold you accountable in a different way. Bruce's big line when we were at the programming board and being president of the programming board was, man, you got to delegate. You got to delegate. That's why you got people working for you. You got to delegate. And it's funny.
I can hear him saying that.
Yeah, I mean delegate was the big word. And when I started becoming a sports writer, when I became a sports editor, that's when I realized this is just like being at the programming board. This is just like having a staff here and doing my job, but making sure that other people that can do this job and do their job and making sure that they can carry it out the best and give them responsibilities that are meaningful and important and constructive, and then being able to support them when they do them. Is exactly what Bruce was talking about. So my preparation for my career, I certainly learned a lot in the academics world. I laugh about that and sort of, I don't want to say I shrug it off, but I laugh about it. I probably don't give it as enough credit as it deserves. But what I learned by being involved in these groups, these affinity groups, or being involved with the athletics department, are really what shaped me moving on in my professional career.
Speaking of your professional career, you talked a good bit about that process. You mentioned the airport. What do you do with the airport for the last 20-some years?
Okay, so for the last 20 years, I started working at the airport in 2001, and I did a lot of different things at the airport. Back when I started out as manager of public affairs, and did a lot of press releases, press conferences, media. But quickly, I saw a need, and so did the administration see a need that we needed to have someone addressing customer service. And so I moved into the customer service world. Customer experience is what it became. And so I was involved a lot with creating customer programs, customer service programs, customer excellence programs, taking care of those folks coming through. So we managed the information desk. We came up with a volunteer program that I'm incredibly proud of. It'll be celebrating 25 years fairly soon. Everything to make Pittsburgh a little bit more Pittsburghy, right? That friendliness that Pittsburgh's renowned for, being welcome, being forward, being helpful. We were able to shape that. So I did that for quite a while. I'm vice president of customer experience. Then I moved into a marketing role and had one of the greatest marketing jobs ever, where I got to work with Visit Pittsburgh and other convention and visitors bureaus throughout the region, and really promote our international flights that we had at the airport. Since then, I left. I actually left and came back. I work for another company right now, but I work with the airport. I work at the airport every single day. And my job there is community outreach in communications, I guess communications and community outreach. And my job right now is to promote the new terminal being built there, which is incredibly exciting. It's a great program. It's a great project. I do host tours. Those tours will be coming to a halt soon as we get done to the stretch run of the construction of the new terminal. But it's been a blast over the last year and a half, 18 months or so, talking to the people from the region about what this airport is doing, how it's changing the face of aviation in Pittsburgh. And it's about time. It's time that we make that transition from the airport we were before and be much more forward looking. And this airport's going to position us that way.
What do you think's the biggest thing out of that? Because I'm sure it's a whole suite full of things that move that transition forward, especially with the new terminal. What do you think's the like one thing that you'd want to promote, say, to the audience that maybe they never see it? I've seen pictures that you've shared kind of behind what things going on, and I'd like to get the tour kind of figured out at some point. But what's that one thing you'd be like, yeah?
So the biggest thing to me that this airport's going to create is efficiency. And I say this on every tour. I'm not very efficient in my words in describing efficiency, but the whole airport is about creating efficiencies for everybody involved. So by getting rid of a landside terminal and building a new landside terminal that's attached to the airside terminal, we're going to cut down travel times for passengers and walking distances and the ability to get to and from the gate, and make it a more sensible, intuitive transition for the passenger going through, right? So that's going to help tremendously. It's going to help the employees tremendously. I don't know how many employees have to go back and forth between the two buildings and ride that people mover train. It's not that big of a deal, but it takes time and it creates some effort. And getting from one building to another is a little bit laborious if you have to do it a couple times a day. So that's going to be eliminated. But the biggest thing is it's going to be efficient for the airlines, which is going to hopefully be a benefit for us all. So the airlines no longer have to move, and the airport no longer has to move every passenger, all 10 million passengers that come through the airport. They don't have to move them from the landside terminal over to the airside terminal. We're starting everybody basically at the airside terminal. The cost that it takes to move bags back and forth between the two buildings is going to be eliminated. So that means your bags should get to a baggage claim earlier than what they're getting now, because we have that half-mile distance between the two terminals that currently exist that we're eliminating, right? So just by consolidating everything together, it's going to be an efficiency for everybody involved. And as you probably can figure it out, I could talk all day about it.
I'm sure. Like I said,
project. And there's a lot of other great things coming along as far as the ability to introduce some new technology, represent the area better better than what we currently do with the design, and just making more of Pittsburgh's airport.
That's really cool. You said 10, so that's 10 million a year come through Pittsburgh's airport.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I never had a number on it.
So last year I think we had 9.9 million passengers come through. So I'm being generous and rounding it up to 10 million.
We'll let it slide. We heard the math story. Nice. We understand.
Okay. Yeah, not the greatest math student in the world. So I'm big into rounding up numbers.
Well, one of the neat things that I was excited when we were thinking about how we wanted to approach this week's episode was, Jeff, you have a great story, and we'd be glad to thank you for your time, and that'd be it. But you've been helping out with a committee for the Mountain Cat Media, Music, and More event that David and I have been promoting through the show for the last several weeks at the beginning of each episode. What is it? You're actually one of the key players, and who's helping you, and what is this thing?
Well, what is this thing? It's a celebration of Mountain Cat Media, Music, and More. That's exactly what it is, and it's a celebration about everybody that's been involved in those affinity groups, mainly And I say mainly, and that's kind of unfair. It's just they're probably they were the bigger ones, right? And so it started out with David and I and a few other people. I believe Mark Bursick was one from the past who's on the committee, talking about getting together a reunion of WUPJ alum, programming board alum, and advocate alum, and just try to work on that ends. Now we've been able to add some other folks, including Trails and the yearbook, and bring them into the fold as well. But it's really just a weekend event, mainly Saturday, but it'll start on Friday, bringing people together for a reunion that's never been done at UPJ before. So we're excited about that. So it actually sort of starts Friday. It's also the same weekend as the UPJ Alumni Association golf outing.
Mm-hmm.
Which is Friday. So it works out well for me because I plan on playing in the golf outing. And then I'm going to head up to campus for the informal mixer for the the Mountain Cap Media, Music, and More reunion. And that'll take place, I guess, at the Living Learning Center. And, just anybody that's going to get together, informal get together that night of just hopefully some old friends and maybe some new friends as well. Getting together and discussing some times at UPJ, getting to know people and getting reacquainted. The next day, we're going to have a couple events on Saturday, all-day events. Have the opportunity to go back and look through some yearbooks, check out some advocates as well. And then down at the programming board, down at the log cabin, I should say, the opportunity to hook up with Bruce Hasselrig and talk about some of the things that happened either at the log cabin or at the programming board. And certainly I'll be down there with Bruce as well to be discussing all those great times and all the great memories of all the great shows that we've had come through. Later in the day, there will be a cookout and a bar, I guess a cookout, not necessarily a barbecue, but a cookout down at the pavilion and a good time there. And then WPJ disc jockeys will be, I was going to say spinning music all day long, but nobody spins music anymore.
Not anymore.
No, not anymore. That's how old I am, I guess. So they'll be playing music all day long and then have that party as well. The next morning, we'll have a goodbye breakfast with mimosa brunch, I guess, before we all hit the road on Sunday afternoon or morning. Now, there's many options when you go to sign up, just in case people are listening. Many different options. You don't have to stay overnight. You don't have to come up Friday night. You don't even have to come to the dinner. We do want as many people to register, just so that we have an idea of how many people are interested and want to do this and want to come back. But the registration, formal registration, includes dinner as well as the Sunday brunch. But again, it's sort of a la carte. You don't have to sign up for all that if you do not want to.
And if you heard this and you finally understand what I've been trying to, because I butcher the name every time, Jeff. I'm telling you, I don't know if it's the alliteration or whatever.
Yeah.
It just
it is the alliteration, because I think I'm the one that came up with the name of it, and
it's your fault. I've sounded like an idiot for the last 7 weeks.
So
it's going to be on. It's on the alumni social media, the Facebook, the LinkedIn. I also have the registration link in the description here of this podcast. So if you look into the description of your favorite podcatcher, of your app that you're using to listen to this, click that link. It'll take you right to the registration, and you can get signed up as well. One of the things that David's kind of made me commit to is that I think we're going to have the setup so anyone who wants to relive the radio days can actually record an episode of the podcast. And we're going to just have it out.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we're gonna.
I know a bunch of people that would be great at that.
Oh yeah, that's what I figured. We'll just set it up and record, and then maybe we'll just put it out, assuming it's cool enough that we'll put. It's going to be good enough. As long as I don't get fired for something, we'll put it out raw as a feed and just here you go.
Just go.
I think that'll be really fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward. I mean, I'm a little bit biased on some of the ones there. I was certainly heavily involved with the programming board in WUPJ. So I'm definitely looking forward to going out and reliving some of those experiences. Getting the chance to talk to Bruce would be great. I think anybody would that was involved with the programming board and putting on shows, and I'm sure there are a lot of great people after Bruce, but Bruce is just a great person to work with, and I think I've already said about how much he's influenced me. But when I sit back and I think on my times at UPJ, there's a ton of great times. But some of the best times were just load-outs and load-ins for these bands. And these are bands names that I can't even remember. But it was just a great time. And just having a great time with my roommate who I'll be celebrating a birthday with him next week. So, those are things that just stick with you for the rest of your life. And it's just good to get up. Certainly, as David and I have had the opportunity to work together with the Alumni Association, I'd always sort of been in touch with David, but now that I'm in touch with him a little bit more, reliving those past experiences about, do you remember the time this and this happened? Do you remember this person and this person? They're just good times. And, life goes by too fast without the opportunity sometimes to take the advantage of sitting back and reflecting on those and just maybe hopefully having good laughs over them, because you never have enough time to laugh. And so that's why I am really looking forward to this. I know my wife and I, Betsy and I, will be there. Hopefully some of our friends will be there, but I'm also looking forward, throughout the years in my newspaper career, I also got the opportunity to meet other UPJ graduates who were both ahead of me and behind me. And so hopefully we'll meet some more folks along those ways. And hopefully some of those folks will be up there as well.
I think it's going to be great. I think I can't wait to hear what gets produced from everybody.
Yeah. Oh yeah, very, very excited.
And it's going to be a really cool event. Again, the registration link, it's in the description of this podcast. It's on the alumni social media, Facebook and LinkedIn. Get registered up, and we look forward to seeing you on campus. Jeff, thank you for taking some time out of your afternoon here and hanging out with me.
All right, Matt, thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity.
And I want to thank you for listening to the show this week, and tune in next week. We'll see what the future brings us. Have a great one. The Tuck Shop podcast is recorded live on the University of Pittsburgh at Johnstown campus. Update your contact information with us by visiting johnstown.pitt.edu/alumni. Connect with us online via Facebook and LinkedIn, or consider donating to the university at giveto.pitt.edu/giveupj.
This has been a production of Quantum Wave Media. Views expressed do not necessarily reflect the opinion of the University of Pittsburgh at Johnstown.